We have our heading.
Here we go.
Thank you so much for watching this episode. Speaking of what we just did,
What did we just do?
a very old, very popular Disney trailer. I guess it was an advertisement for Disney in general.
Uh-oh. We don't like Disney.
Don't like Disney. What are we talking about today?
We're talking about...
Disney. I'm just kidding.
No, we're talking actually about...
Disney affiliates.
The importance of brushing your teeth.
No.
I mean, it is important to brush your teeth, but that's not what we're talking about. We're going to talk about conspiracy theories, kind of. Theories in general, but especially, however you want to say it. Especially one specific theory that is branched off, and there's a million theories regarding this theory.
Especially is spelled with an EX, right?
I don't know.
Why do I not know this?
Oh, you look that up. I'm going to explain what we're talking about. There's one theory.
Especially. No, it's not EX.
There's one theory.
ESP.
That has branched up. We're going in rabbit hole right now. It's branched off to a million different theories. Let's just say it. It's the Pixar Theory.
Okay, explain a little bit of what that is, without giving away the reveal at the end. Let's save that.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're saying. What the reveal is. It's kind of a story where each Pixar movie is on a timeline, and they all kind of interact with each other and have a part to play with all of it. And I think the biggest, it all kind of ties together how the writers tied the films together. Each film is its own thing.
And there is one character that has this crazy twist at the end of it. But let's build to that.
So what I see the Pixar Theory, and I know they don't say this is the core, but to me this kind of seems like something that ties it all together, is the By and Large, the company, where we first see it in Toy Story when they're changing out the batteries on one of the toys. We see
Which
a
is
B
like
and
the
L,
B and L.
B and an L logo, and then it's a battery, and then later we see it in WALL-E.
Yes. There's another one. Which one was the other one? I can't remember which one it was, but yeah, it's WALL-E. By and Large is essentially the company that has taken over, or is pretty much the ones in charge of the whole spaceship that all of human existence is on.
Yeah.
But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. Let's start back. Now the timeline's a little weird. The stuff that we've looked at doesn't go into some of the newer Pixar ones, which I'm sure they fit into. But we just haven't seen it, so we'll talk about what we know currently, and if you want to see updated stuff and this interests you, you can go look at it yourself.
Yeah.
But let's start from what we know. The first one that fits into it is Brave.
Yeah.
So the Pixar film Brave starts back in like the Victorian era and whatnot, and there's essentially the big Pixar theme is kind of like split up into three different things. What these different people are talking about that we watch videos on and stuff is like animals that are intelligent, humans. What was it? Animals that are intelligent, humans, and or the need for humans. Yeah. And then artificial intelligence. Yeah. And that's like a common theme across Pixar films. And so we see that first in Brave, although they didn't make the films in sequential order. We see that in Brave, how there literally is magic bestowed upon this bear that becomes like a smart animal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then we also see it again, which is kind of the next film in the timeline theory, Up.
Yes.
Which is where we see By and Large again. That's the company that's trying to tear down his house.
Which is actually a pretty big time gap between Brave and Up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would say Up is probably... because By and Large was on the house of the old man. So it was pretty much By and Large was like a company that was in the city that he lived in and was doing all that building around him. Yeah. And why like they're all about like progress and building and whatnot, and I think they're the company that ultimately destroys the world in WALL-E,
and created the city, and then the robots that is WALL-E to clean up the city.
Yeah. So,
but I think before WALL-E though, we have.
But that's also where we first get not only the intelligent animals, but also the artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Crossover in Up, because you have the collars, the technology that's in Up to communicate with the animals, and at the same time revealing that animals actually are smart, that they are self-aware, you know?
Yeah, but something else that we see before WALL-E though, because I want to go back. We have Toy Story is on the timeline, and also Finding Nemo. We see Toy Story clues in Finding Nemo, where in the dentist office you see toys that are the same. Like you see a Woody and you see Buzz Lightyear, I think, in the office of the dentist on Finding Nemo. Doesn't mean it's the Buzz Lightyear and the Woody from Toy Story, but it's a toy made just like them. Yeah, that is true. That is true. Maybe it's not the.
It's not the.
It's probably not.
It's just another version of the same toy.
Yeah, but then in WALL-E, you see when he's cleaning up, like that.
But wait, what about Finding Nemo and Toy Story? Because you just said it's there, but you didn't explain.
Well, I kind of talked about it a little bit. By and large, there's a scene where they're changing out the batteries in a toy, and you see the logo for By and Large, and then that ties in with that theory. And also in Finding Nemo, we see in the dentist office the toys, how it kind of ties together in that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, that brings the universe together for sure. I'm thinking like how the whole thing, like with humans, with intelligent animals, and then
I think you're harping on too much on that one theory. That's the whole theory. Because of the one video that you saw.
I know, but it makes sense.
Yeah. But we can see from that they're all tied together.
So you're just saying we're just tying things together.
Well, there has to be clues. Why is it tied together? Why do we think they're all tied together?
That's what I was explaining.
Okay. Well, explain what you were going to explain.
I was just going to say that we see examples of smart animals like in Finding Nemo. And although it's not necessarily like robots, I think there is something to the extent of inanimate objects with the toys that have intelligence. You know what I mean? I mean, you can keep going.
Well, because the video you saw, it's a little older video. You haven't watched as many videos as I have about this. So I think that's more of an older theory. I'm not saying that it's outdated, but I think it's an older theory. That's why I'm just kind of emphasizing the theory of it tying it together and them being definitely part of the same universe.
Okay.
Because then it goes into like WALL-E, and in WALL-E we see when he's cleaning up the planet at the beginning, when he's looking and finds the Rubik's Cube, the ring, and all that stuff, we see a Rex. He like has a Rex that you see in trash and stuff like that. And then they kind of go onto the spaceship with all the humans in WALL-E, and we see a lot of, by and large, the BL logo. Like a lot of that everywhere.
And the way they're tied together gives us an idea on the timeline and the placement of where the films are. So you have, as we said at the beginning, kind of Brave, and then you go to Up, and then probably The Incredibles, and then I think there's Toy Story and Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
On the timeline. And then after that, we get to WALL-E.
Yeah, well, WALL-E's going to be way into the future, past Toy Story and all that.
Yeah, but there's not like a film in between there.
Well, there's a couple. I mean, just Toy Story 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And then 4 that they just came out with.
Yeah.
2. So, and every film that they come out with.
Cars as well.
Yeah.
Cars happens
and Cars,
right before WALL-E.
I mean, and each film that comes out, like the new, like Toy Story 4 just came out.
Mm-hmm.
And people are theorizing and be like, okay, this is how it fits in, and we see this, and it kind of adds to the story. So every time a Pixar movie comes out, people are like,
they're trying to fit it inside the theory.
Well, they're finding ways how it kind of ties together. It's kind of like another piece to the puzzle. Will we ever... This is just a theory before we explain. Do you think they'll ever reveal, like, Pixar come out with a film almost like kind of like a Julian Smith thing? Do you remember when Julian Smith created all these films, and then kind of his last film that he kind of has created on his channel since
I want to go back and
years,
watch this.
He kind of said, I created all this to tie it together. This whole time I've been wanting to tie it together. Which is crazy because we never thought that
we thought it was just all sketches.
But
which was awesome. It's in the world. I think that was genius. That's a really cool, like in the lane of filmmaking and storytelling. That's really cool. That's a good way, because if not only you're making good, funny, or entertaining content, but then you bring it together and then blow your audience's mind, they will thank you forever for that, because there's something super satisfying about it.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I enjoy, and just finding Easter eggs in everything. I mean, even why it's one of my favorite movies is Ready Player One. Not to say that Ready Player One's in the future and it all ties together, but Steven Spielberg put so much Easter eggs and things in his movie
from his past films,
and
just like old 80s stuff.
Yeah, old 80s, just things that were happening during the 80s, and how Steven Spielberg was a huge part of the movie industry and just creating entertainment for that generation. And Ready Player One has so much 80s memorabilia, and the main guy in that film, he's like obsessed with 80s culture. And so that's something I really like. And that's kind of with the Pixar theory we have.
Well, it's adding a theory to things that probably are just Easter eggs, but the theory, I don't know if they did this intentionally.
That's why I'm curious if way down the road are they going to come out and make something to prove us that it is true, or are they just going to keep leading us on? Because
that's the thing. There would be if it was truly real, and we'll get back to the theory in a second. If it was truly planned, I feel like there would be a little bit more continuity.
I think there is. We just don't see it. And then also they know about this. I mean, they can't. They have to be stupid to not know.
They know about it, but it could have just been
Pixar Theory.
Yeah.
And so something, and they didn't mention this.
The thing at the end, I think, is like the thing that makes the Pixar Theory have any kind of water to stand on.
Before that, though, I know...
Water to stand on? What did I just say? Ground to stand on. What the heck?
Yeah. What? Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Something that is a big part that they didn't talk about in that film that they've speculated on before, a lot of the original films that they've created, like the Toy Story and the Bug's Life, the old Pixar movies you know about. Back in the 90s, I don't know if they were any in the 80s, but like Toy Story is the original one, and then Bug's Life.
Yes.
They had this team of writers, like the Pixar company has these writers, and I don't know how it ties together, maybe like something they went to school with or something like that, but there's these 3 numbers. I can't remember what they are. We should probably look this up, because this is a big thing that he didn't talk about in that film.
You mean the video we watched? Yeah. You keep referencing that, but no one knows what you're talking about.
Yeah, well...
You keep saying that video.
That's the one you watched, and you're kind of tying stuff with that, but there's these numbers that these writers have thrown into all these films. That's just things like where Andy lived, the numbers on the mailbox or something like that just tie things together, because they were important with all the writers of the original films. And even WALL-E came out in I don't even know what year, 2010 maybe? But it was wrote, and the concept of WALL-E was made back when they were creating the first Toy Story. They were like, we want to make this movie about robots and way into the future and all this stuff. It's an old concept that they came up with. These people that are part of...
It didn't happen till much later on.
Yeah. So there's these numbers that we see through multiple films. I mean, you should look that up yourself.
Okay. Well, let's get back to the theory that we're talking about. So there's Cars, and then there's WALL-E. And the thing is with Cars is at that point, humans, somewhere between Toy Story and Cars, somewhere between Toy Story and Cars, I believe, humans have left the planet. Yeah. And that's why Cars are just their artificial intelligence that is just existing on Earth in their own world without humans. We know the story of WALL-E. They come back, and at the end of WALL-E, there is a tree planet, and there's a theory that is the same tree that the ant hill from Bug's Life is next to.
Yeah, like the tree of life. Thing.
Yeah, that thing.
It ties in with the...
Which is weird.
Maybe that...
Why do they call it the tree of life? Because it's the first plant that's planted back on Earth. Yeah. To give life back to the Earth.
And that's also where Rafiki lives. I'm kidding. I don't know if it is or not, but that ties in with it too. No, that's Disney.
Did they call that? The tree of life is on Disney. That's not the Bug's Life tree.
I think it is. Disney Pixar. I think it is. But yeah, you're right. Then we have ants and Bug's Life,
which are small, intelligent creatures. Yet again, getting back to the idea of intelligent animals. Same world.
But then we have Monsters Inc.,
which is really far into the future after Bug's Life.
Nobody really knows what Monsters Inc. is. Maybe they'll come with a film that kind of explains it. But
Onward.
People...
Weren't they monsters?
What do you mean?
Onward.
I know I seen this film.
It's like the most recent Pixar film.
What is it about? I
it
know
has
I'm
Chris
blanking.
Pratt.
Oh, yes.
Onward, they're monsters in that, right?
Yeah.
That probably ties in. I bet you Onward, I bet Onward is like the 80s version of Monsters, Inc. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
I think Onward is probably the monster world ramping up.
Yeah, because somehow
that's my
we
theory.
Get from humans and bugs to monsters. I don't know how long it is, or if there's movies like theories or timelines before that.
But pretty much during a long period of time, the monsters control the world. There's not human life anymore. Why? Because they need humans for energy. For some reason, humans are needed throughout this process. Yeah. And because of that, they have to travel through these doors to go get them. Now, if this is all the same world, everyone probably is thinking that doesn't know about the theory. No, Monsters, Inc. is just another world, and they travel to Earth to get the screams, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of what you might imply to think of, correct? But tell us what the theory says is actually the doorway passage.
Well, a lot of people think it's actually traveling through time rather than through space or like a different dimension. It's the same place. It's just time traveling, going through these doors.
Yes.
And which that's a theory in itself. How, if it's going through time and like, let's say a house that's up, maybe like one family lives there, but in like 100 or 20 years, maybe that family doesn't live there anymore. Another family moves in, another kid. Does each door, is it a different like timeline, and how much? I guess that's getting really deep into it.
Yeah, it is getting deep, but that makes sense because even the consistency of how it progresses, it's very obvious in Monsters, Inc. It is technology that controls the passageway.
Yeah.
It's not magic, it's technology. So that's why...
Well, it is magic, it's just...
No. On Monsters, Inc., the way the monsters go to and from, it is completely technology.
No, it's the screams. So it is magic. It's the screams. I don't know why you're saying technology. Why do you think it's technology?
The screams, it's the technology is using the screams as energy.
Yeah, but that's still... magic technology, that's not really a big factor into it, though.
I think it is because technology is so advanced because it's so far in the future. We saw how advanced technology was in WALL-E. So if this is past WALL-E, it makes sense that they've learned how to take what seems like magic, but it's really just very complex technology harnessing this power.
Then. I mean, I can't say for sure if it's technology, magic, whatever it is.
Because it's very industrial in Monsters, Inc. It seems like they've just learned how to create technology to actually time travel.
Yeah.
Like in Back to the Future.
Yeah. So then because we're getting our times up, let's just get to the main theory that you're talking about that we were going to wait till the end to reveal.
So, obviously we know in Monsters, Inc., the big thing is Boo, the kid, forms a relationship with Sully.
Yeah.
And then at the end, which it makes you cry every time, Sully leaves and Boo is sad. Yeah. It's so sad. But the theory is that Boo remembers this other world, these creatures, and she becomes obsessed in her life trying to find Sully again.
Yeah.
And so the theory is that she dabbled in things like magic to try to get to wherever Sully is. Maybe she thinks it's another world. Maybe she doesn't know it's the future. And because of that, she dabbles in witchcraft and becomes
the witch on Brave.
The witch on Brave.
Which there's a lot of Easter eggs with that, because when it shows her like workshop, there's a picture of Sully like in the background,
which I think is
the
most compelling piece of evidence.
And there's also like the Pizza Planet car and stuff like that.
But the Pizza Planet car seems more like an Easter egg.
Well, that's an Easter egg that's in multiple Pixar films, and there's like the car, it's on WALL-E, and it's been around. It's somehow tied into all of this to where if she's traveling around time and trying to find Sully, then she's going to come across this car. So she probably like, because this is back when Brave is way before cars. So she sees this car and thinks it's such a mystical thing. It's a thing that drives. People get in it and drive. We don't need horses. It's not a buggy. It's just a driving car.
Because it's Boo. So Boo's in the modern world. She would have seen cars.
Oh yeah, I guess.
Yeah, because she would have used magic to travel back in time, back to when Brave was.
Or maybe the car is...
I think the car is just an Easter egg.
Okay, maybe.
I don't think it fits into the theory well. But it is random that Sully, specifically, is carved into a piece of wood in the witch's cabin. Out of all the Pixar things, Sully's right there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they resemble. I mean, you could see Boo looking like the old witch when she becomes an old woman. You know what I mean? Mm. It's a pretty interesting theory. I'm interested to try to get to know a little bit more about the more recent Pixar films.
Yeah.
See how they tie in. And maybe that's something that interests you as well. The biggest thing I think that I observe when I see these is thinking from just the story development, like we talked about. It's very interesting, and I think it's something beautiful to creating a story like Julian Smith did, like Pixar might have done. We don't know. It's a theory. To bring things together in a way to get people interested and actually feel like they're a part of a secret journey. I think the secret journey thing is what's interesting, and your mind's blown if you didn't see it coming.
Yeah, that's why. Kind of ending this off and plugging everything. I know it's happened and we just spoiled it for you, but you should go back and watch Julian Smith's funny skits that are funny by themselves, but then they tie in together.
Yeah, towards the end of what he was doing.
The end. I mean, it's more. It blew us away more because we were watching these funny skits as he was coming out. Yeah, and then we're like, "What the heck? They all tied together." That was such a genius thing that I remember. I think you were at the I don't want to take too long, but I think you were at the Wilds when he came out with that. Were you?
I probably was, yeah.
Because I remember sitting on my bed watching the Kidnapped series, and I watched and I'm like, holy crap, this is crazy. And I think I called you or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Joseph, you have to watch this. This just came out. He announced that all this happened. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really go wrong when you do something that's geared towards like the true fans, the true people that are paying attention, to get them to give them something that's detailed and complex and like something to have fun over. You know what I mean? And no one's ever going to be disappointed by a good theory or a good, like, you know, the end of the Sixth Sense, a good twist, especially when you've been invested for years. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I guess that kind of ends us off.
Yeah.
Let's plug the Midnight Special.
Yeah.
So every week, Friday night, we have this show called The Midnight Special. It's an hour and a half to 2 hours long to 3 hours long to 4 hours eventually.
We haven't gone over 2 yet.
But it will be eventually. So it's a good show. You should go watch it. It's really relaxed. It's with our friends John, Mark, and Wyatt usually co-host it. And then we also have some guests on sometimes. So it's very relaxing and very interesting. You should go watch it.
We have interesting conversations on that one.
Yeah.
And we tell stories, we reminisce, things of that nature. It's pretty chill.
Yep.
It's nice.
And then also subscribe to this channel because we still make movies on here. We're about to come up on our 100th episode and something very special is going to happen. So wait and see for that.
Unless every plan falls through.
Yes.
We'll still make it special.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
If not, we'll do it completely shirtless. We'll
let you see our nipples if every plan we have falls through.
Yes.
So you'll be able to look forward to that.
Yes.
Or something better. All right.
So
thank you so much for subscribing. Follow us on Spotify, and we will see you later.
And one more thing to end this off.
I just said see you later.
You want to have some hot Kool-Aid? I made this for you, brother.
I don't want hot Kool-Aid.
Okay.